Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to the Save Dish Pod, where we may be young, we may be imperfect, but we are 1000% Christian. My name is Kiel. Glad to have you. Pull up a seat.
Pulls up seat. Hey, y'all. It's your girl, Caitlin. Back at it again. So this is Save Dish. We talk about the issues of the week, which we know if you were here for the last episode, Khalil really gave us a thorough examination of the thorn in his side. Right. So since we were walked down that lane, now we're going to ease on down the happy road. So with that being said, Exactly. You got it. The yellow brick road. Come on now. If you mean nothing. Anyways, getting the train back on track. Yes, the Lord has showed up for your girl in many mighty ways. But one in particular is that I passed my United States medical license exam step 1. Thank you. For sure. Right. So that means that I'm officially in the hospital. And I sometimes can barely take care of my dog. So y'all stay healthy. Just kidding, actually. It's just a joke. I'm a very competent individual in the medical field. So I look forward to never hopefully seeing you guys in the hospital. But if I do, you're in good hands. Just like Allstate. And in that case, we are going to pass it on to Keith now.
Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Just a reminder that Caitlin is smarter than all of us.
Hey.
So shout out to her for passing the test that I probably wouldn't have got a single question right. So big up.
Even if you put C all the way down, you still will get something right.
Perhaps.
But anyways.
I appreciate that, both.
You're welcome.
But I would like to talk about something that's been top of mind for me for a little while. As most of our viewers and listeners know, we're based out of Washington, D.C.
Mm-hmm.
As most of them probably also know, D.C. has been going through a lot this year. Mm-hmm. A lot of actions being taken by people in leadership that I don't feel great about. And it's had me thinking about, as Christians, as the church, as the Black church specifically, what should our role be in addressing this and other issues that maybe fall under like the civil rights or civil injustices category? Because I know we hear a lot about the Black church of like the 60s or the 50s, and we see what they did and how much impact they made. And I just want to talk about what that should look like now, whether or not we're hitting the mark, and what opportunities might exist for us to step it up a little bit.
So my commentary falls into two places. Obviously being a member of the Black church and that experience as a whole, but then also working in social work. I think the biggest thing that we need to do that we've done in the past and continue to expound upon that is, particularly in Washington, D.C., is that we need to galvanize the resources that we have to ensure for individuals who are directly impacted by the martial policing. They have resources to ensure that their families are taken care of in the event that they are detained, as well as just putting them in a position to where, even that happening gets decreased. It hits home when you have, personally, I have students that experience that threat, every day. And ironically, in the neighborhood that we're actually doing this broadcast, some of them don't live too far from here, and so that's a reality to them. And it's funny because at first, I thought, they're only doing this policing in certain neighborhoods, but as of last night, they were in Southeast. And when I say Southeast, not Navy Yard, I'm talking about Anacostia.
I mean, I definitely will say, to piggyback off of that, initially it had felt, or it looked like it was let's go to these specific neighborhoods. I know Columbia Heights, Mount Pleasant were two of them. However, there has been a military presence at every single train stop as well. I can say that. Like, I physically have seen it myself. I'm like, wow, I am taken aback because of this what's happening around us and in the spaces where we normally feel safe or we're just moving around. It's not like that anymore. Now we have to pivot and adjust and see where we can find safety in our communities.
Yeah.
I think it's really interesting that we went, and I think it's natural. We went straight to, is it our part or is it other parts? And I know that's just kind of part of like the tribal nature of humans of like, all right, well, is it affecting us or is it affecting them? Especially when you think about things like ICE, like that. You can easily say that's not a black problem. But to your point, problems that affect communities that aren't us, it don't take long for them to come knocking on our door. You know, what's the saying? If America is sick, black America get the flu.
That's right.
And so, you know, any problems they trickle down, for lack of a better phrase, to us. And so, I think even that, as the black church, we need to make sure that we don't adopt that posture of focusing on self,
It's not my problem.
even though we have to focus on self in some cases. And so, I think that's one of the first things that makes it a bit complicated. It's like, how much do we extend? How much of our resources are we willing to? Especially if we feel like maybe a targeted community, I'm just gonna say it wouldn't do the same for us.
I'm intrigued by what you're saying, and it's only because historically, I don't think safety precautions resources were extended to black communities. But then there's this, is there now an expectation that the black church should also open up their doors to the folks that very much might have shunned them in the past?
Yeah.
So to that point, a couple months ago, I think we were more so in the early summer or mid early summer when our Hispanic brothers and sisters I believe in LA or in California started protesting
in June.
Yeah, there was a conversation. There were many conversations around like why
not
black
out there
folks in LA were not
out there with them.
Jumping to it, and it caused a internal Latinx conversation around the truth of the matter when it comes to like a number of Hispanics not standing in solidarity with African Americans, and also the internal conflicts that happened, particularly in LA when it comes to Hispanics and blacks. Although there has been some unity, obviously in exchange in culture and food, and families commingling together and having kids, all the things.
Yeah.
But a still undertone of, we don't support you all in you all's.
Like it's to an extent.
Yeah, it's to an extent, and I think given that history, we are now seeing black folks protect their space, their boundaries, in a way that has been unprecedented, and so the black church is on the area of question that we are talking about now. And I do think there needs to be twofold. I think there needs to be space where we do lend a hand, but also keep a hand back for what is necessary in the event things do happen to us as well. Because I think I think it's a bit presumptuous for us to assume that other cultures in our society are going to have our best interests at heart. That hasn't been our going history. When it happens, lovely.
I agree.
And even in that, like I kind of threw that out there because I knew it was relevant, but I do believe the answer is pretty straightforward. And if we're going to what we think Jesus would have done, that wouldn't have been top of mind. It's like, oh, well, was that community looking out for us? And so I do feel that we need to be careful to not conform, right? To not take that same posture that communities, organizations have taken, even Christian organizations, because there are a lot of Christian, lowercase c, voices, organizations, leaders who are very for self, very anti-diversity, anti-anything different, anti-anything that doesn't look like the 20s or 30s. And hate for us to, get our little resources, maybe our little status, and move in the way that they do.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That said, there's also an element of like, if I were to try to say, in my house, how do we move? I'm not really out on the streets. I haven't marched. My mindset is very much protect your wife and your children.
Mm-hmm.
Don't do anything that would jeopardize your ability to pay the mortgage, your freedom, your ability to be
Your
home with your
safety.
children. So that's where I kind of find myself being a bit of a hypocrite.
Mm-hmm.
And with a lot of
Is
issues,
it hypocritical though?
I guess what I mean is, if you ask me what I think the church would do or should do, I don't know that it's going to align with how I'm moving.
But they also don't have the same stakes as you.
Let's talk about
Church finger. Did now we know the reality of this, but did the families of Fred Hampton, Medgar Evers, Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, Patrice Lumumba, all these individuals who sacrificed themselves for the sake of our people.
the cause,
Yeah, the cause. Did their sons, did their daughters, did their wives need them any less for the sake of them sacrificing themselves for our community?
I would say absolutely not, right? But the follow-up question, which we'll never have an answer to, is, if we could somehow channel or communicate with DeMartin right after his demise and ask him, was it worth it? I don't know for sure that his answer would be, yeah, I'm glad I did it, and I'm glad my children now don't have a father.
I should have never saw the mountaintop.
right. But no, I mean, I
Yeah.
think, I'm making it real personal. But,
No, but
Yeah.
your story is relatable, just
Yeah.
like I think almost anybody else's. And just because you're not outside on the picket line marching doesn't mean you're not empowering your family, your children with the education to feel like they can take on a movement or start one or be there to be a safe space for any other communities. So I will say, grant yourself some grace there, because you are still doing the work that I think is very important, and being a resource to the resources that will be there for the next community or generation moving forward.
Thank you.
You're so welcome, Tink Tink.
But I guess to bring it back, the question is, because the church doesn't have a son or a daughter per se, right? But what do we believe the church should be doing? And one thing that I'm also grappling with is knowing how history is often told. Certain stories are going to get highlighted, and so we're privileged to go to a church that's 100+ years old in the middle of Washington D.C. has all these amazing stories, but were most black churches moving like that, or were those just the highlights, the best of the best?
So I come from Dallas, Texas, and the reality of it is that during the height of the civil rights movement, the prominent ministers of that time told King to get back into the plane that they didn't want him to disturb the unspoken agreeableness that was in between the white folks in that time frame and the black folks in the communities of Dallas. I can only imagine what he felt like when they said that, but it's funny coming from Dallas in the time in which we were young men and young boys. I felt that element. I felt that element in how black folks operated in the environment with white people. That didn't leave anywhere. It just morphed. And so it's challenging because, to answer your question, not all of us want liberation in the same context. Some of us are very comfortable with the status quo.
I got mine.
It's
yours.
Yeah, right. We know it. We're familiar with it. Just like if anybody does any research around the slave narratives, not all the slaves were happy to be done with slavery. Especially, you got to remember, like, if you've been conditioned, raised in that, for it to be removed, what you're asking somebody to change their whole way of being. People get mad when their favorite food or their favorite coffee is out in Starbucks. Imagine if somebody takes your whole way of life from you. And so I think that's the biggest thing to answer your questions. A lot of ministers in certain spaces, like unfortunately where I'm from, they weren't so gung-ho.
Yeah. And I think a big part of it is that, like, that how uncomfortable are we willing to be? Like, especially us, like, we're literally in a time where, at least me, like, I'm gonna pick up my phone, press some buttons, and I expect that food to be at my door warm within 35 minutes. If it's not, I'm like actually, inconvenienced. I might leave a comment. I might try to get it free. Right?
1 star.
But then you think about things like the bus boycotts. It's like, oh no, they walked to work, carpooled to work for years.
That's right.
Like, that's how much they were willing to step outside of, like, what's useful, what's convenient to try to shake up the system. And I just, I don't know, maybe I'm cynical, but I don't know that I see us as that willing to give up some of the things it may take.
I also don't think that they had the same in culture stratification that we do have now.
What is that?
Like, I don't think there were a lot of black people who were extremely successful. Like, I don't think that they had as defined as an upper, middle, and lower class set of African American citizens. So it was more like everybody is kind of without. Like, you might have like your few, they did well or they did well in the community or whatever, but like everybody was fighting the same battle on the same playing field, had the same weapons to fight with. But like you said, you can tippity tap tap in your phone and the food be there, but there's like somebody out there who can't do that. So they're fighting a different battle with a different set of weapons.
And it's ballers in our church. Like people that are really high status, living extremely comfortable, 7 figures. And so to your point, I think it's a lot easier to point to that and say, oh, well, it ain't that bad, because that person did it, you can do it. I don't know. I don't want this.
But then it's like, is that person who is now at a different level, is that their responsibility to bring their...
I don't think it is. I think people rise to whatever occasion is within their journey. I don't think that just because someone is in a space that they have to bring everyone else. That'd be great. If that morally, I feel like it would be great. But also, to have that kind of calling, you have to wait for a strong word and a really good feel of courage and strength, because there is a lot of sacrifice that comes with starting these spaces and being a safe space. I think when it comes to the Black church, and obviously I'm not Black, but just growing up in PG and being very much an ally, I feel like wherever we have the opportunity to build out space and start initiatives, we can and we should. And it's perfectly fine if it's not your bag to be that starter, to be that lead. That's perfectly okay. However, we can't be a part of this, like a great or grander institution that has influence and not try to use that influence to provide support and safety.
Yeah.
I think we owe it to the people before us and just our communities, our kids and whoever else, to try to aim for better, because that's what we should do.
Yeah.
But again, it's not everyone's responsibility at all. I
feel like
we'll get. Go ahead.
Just to kind of like push back on that, like, so my background, I come from a 2-parent household. We financially did really well. Everybody has their hiccups, but whatever. Went to private school all my life. Went to a private school for college. Now I'm in medical school. My parents are, helping me pay my way and paying for any resources that I need, tutoring, et cetera, et cetera. So when I make it in medicine, it's like I'm the permissed black person to be in medicine because of where I come from. But to me, increasing the percentages of black doctors, that needle is not moving until I get, Nunu from the hood and he makes it. And he doesn't have to code switch or whatever, or he doesn't have to win some crazy scholarship, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't have to, like, sell his soul to be in the same position that I am in. And that comes through when I get to the position that I'm at, recognizing that, yeah, I got there, but I had a lot of things that were set to the table for me to pull up to that table. So I do feel like it is a sense of my responsibility because I was given the silver spoon, so to say. And I'm not content until I see that black kid make it to the same table that I'm at, because I'm the one that they're looking for to be there. Like, statistically, I am the black kid that would make it. But what about the kid who's not coming from a 2-parent household, who was raised by a single mom, one of 7, doesn't have the resources to even go to college, busting tables to even make it day to day? Like, what about that person who would be a phenomenal physician, or just in any other area, a phenomenal lawyer, a phenomenal business owner, but never got the opportunity because of the system? I feel like that is our responsibility when you do make it to that next level that so many of us, I feel like, forget, because you have made it and you are living on the struggles of your grandparents, and it's like everybody's celebrating that. And I'm not taking away from the celebration, but we can't, like, celebrate and forget that our cousins are still back there. You know what I'm saying? Like,
survivor's remorse.
I mean, I love that you are very much an acts of service kind of girly. Like, you will do for others, and your heart is shaped in that way. And I'm not saying don't do for others at all. That's definitely not what I'm saying. I'm also just kind of shedding light to those who may want to be the second hand in the things, right? Like, I feel like in the space of church where we have multiple ministries, we do have a culmination of different demographics, whether it's interest, age, whatever else. I think it's very important to have spaces where there's this variety of demographic, because there are folks that will push the button on, let's create this space here. Let's have some of our folks here to make sure that we're giving back. I think when we think about it, it's everyone as a full picture. We're coming together and we're going to build it together versus everyone doing the same exact thing. I don't know if this even makes sense, y'all.
No,
okay.
It does. And
it's like contributing in the way that you can.
Yeah.
What you're saying, I think, is important, because I think it's something that people miss when you look at the story of how it happened, a few decades ago. Because you had your front line, but you also had these actors, doctors, lawyers who were funding the movement. And so this might be me going to my corporate job, holding it down, make sure I don't do anything against my morals, but then saying, all right, this is what y'all want to do. Okay, let me support that this way. Because I know you may be in a position where you don't have that backing. Because unfortunately, you can't really change anything without some funding behind it. I guess to get tactical, I would ask, each of y'all, if you had a made-up role, head of the black church, what would be something that you would change, something you would do specifically to try to address what's happening or have us move a little different? And I asked that, I'll start so you have time to think about it.
I don't say.
One thing that I've always noticed that drove me crazy, I grew up in Flint, Michigan. In Flint, Michigan, you could drive down any of our busy streets. You're going to see liquor stores and churches.
And a booth right next to it.
Every single, and a few check cash and, tire spot, but like every block. And it always bothered me, because I'm like, why are there so many small churches with these heads that are doing these things where it's like, if we could ever bring these resources together. So one of the things that I would try to address is just the denominations and the different like subgroups of black Christians who I believe agree on 90% of what needs to be done, but they let the 10%
distracting
get in the way, or people's egos, they got to be the head. I would try to, and I don't know how, but I would try to address that to where we have a bit more of a alignment and just more force behind whatever movement. Because I think every church has the Stop the Violence walk, the car wash, whatever. But it's like, what if all of it
came together? How
big would it be?
So to add to that, I think in my direction, I would want to galvanize the social services, But to his point, I think the way that would happen is that if churches got together, then economically we would need to be investing in the same thing, and there would need to be a board of church members, nonpartisan church members within those various churches that be responsible for allocating a portion of their funds specifically for the interest of that organization to invest on the behalf of those churches and those members accordingly. So I think that would be the start. Now, from a social services standpoint, there would need to be a governing agency inside of those spaces that collectively work with the various different churches to say, okay, in this part of the neighborhood, these are the issues, what's happening on you all side. I was like, okay, who in the church is specialized in this? And then people will actually just pro bono their time. Now, I think economically how that would work is that people would need to be able to write that off as a tax deductible. Now, I don't know all the red tape around that, but at the end of the day, we're doing the Lord's work, but the Lord's work still needs to be taxed. And I'm just calling a spade. And so people need to be subsidized for their spiritual, and spiritual gifts and their callings. And so I think that's one way to go about it. Just like, for example, with Caitlin being a doctor, if she ever stepped into a space where those services extended medically inside the church, she would need to be compensated as well. And when I say compensated,
I kind of push back on that.
When I say compensated, I'm not saying you need to be paid. I'm talking about there, as far as like, for example, there needs to be some type of subsidizing for your time, for the time that you give. Now, if you choose to give that freely, that's fine. But
should that be an expectation? If somebody coming into that.
So
you know what I'm saying?
I don't think so here's the thing. I think at a base level, I think there should be some type of discussion around what does that look like from a tax deductible perspective, because we have tithing. We in our churches, we believe in the concept of tithing, and that is tax deductible. I think people giving their time, especially in the skill set that they do for a living, yes, that should be, because that also incentivizes people to pour back into the church more than what they normally would. And not just take. You know what I'm saying? So like, I think we have to have a blend of both worlds, and then we need to have a gap. And when I say both worlds, I'm talking about recognizing that yes, it takes money. It's not by accident that tithing gets mentioned every time.
Bro.
Let's call a spade a spade.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And the other side of that is that we have to galvanize.
Can you define galvanize for the people who use the small words?
Yes. Basically come together as a collective, and I know that's been used before. We got to pull our resources, but in a strategic manner that ensures that there is some level of economic power behind our efforts and our words, in action. I think that part of the reason why, like specifically, we're gonna talk about Washington D.C. The reason why Washington D.C. was taken away is because we didn't have no money back around it. Everybody make money, allegedly. You know what I'm saying? Everybody make money allegedly, but we didn't buy back no block.
Yeah.
I know New Bethel has done a little one too, but that's just one church.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and this gentrification thing is not just, it just didn't happen in the 1 through 8 wards. It happened in the 9th ward too. If you don't know what the 9th ward is, that's PG County. It's happening there too, and even worse, it's happening. We don't like to claim them, but they are part of us. If you go up to the 443, you know what I'm saying, the 410, in Baltimore, it's happening with them too. So
I don't know
you know what I'm saying. Well, I can talk about it because I went to school there. Like, it's happening everywhere, and so we need to be more concerned about how we can serve each other, and ensure that these spaces are kept by us, but also that we're funding it. Look at it like this: the Black Panthers was a grassroots organization that was funded by the very community they were serving. The very community. And also, when I had my church finger up, to your point when you were talking about earlier, as far as the actors and entertainers, there was footage of Sammy Davis Jr. some years after the height of the civil rights movement, discussing his grievance about what he saw as an African American, and them losing, Dr. King, them losing Malcolm X, them losing Medgar Evers, and him disclosing that like he was funding money, but he knew he couldn't. He was talking about this in an interview. He was like, I knew I couldn't really be on the front because they love Sammy.
I like what you're saying there. Not to hold everyone for 2 seconds, but I like what you're saying there in terms of within the community of the church, we can pull our resources because we are the resources. I think there should be a strong emphasis on making that the challenge, because exactly to your point, there are a lot of folks specifically in our church that could support in any way, shape, or form. So as we continue to lean on each other, we're going to be able to build the community and strengthen our relationships with one another, as well as the trust and all the other things that come along with it. From there, more to come.
Yeah, and I guess to answer your original question, I'm gonna beat this dead horse. I think that I think biblical literacy, I would change that within the church, because then you understand the value of community and pouring back into that community, and like you see it in the Bible. So that would be my thing. Like on top of the structural things that y'all had, I would just want the people of the different churches to be biblically literate. And I feel like that would just enhance the value of the movement. It would kind of get rid of that self-centered mindset of, oh, I have mine, so I'm okay. Well, let me not say get rid of. It would open up a new point of view, because if you really are truly a Christian and you're striving to be more like Christ, then you would see that like he was not content with just like one party being okay. Like he wanted life for all. Like it wasn't just like, oh, I'm coming to die for the Jews. Like that was not the case. So yeah, that would be my 2 cents.
I think that's really important, even beyond like that framing. And an element that I think is critical but missing is that biblical literacy would position us to have more soldiers who are equipped just to have conversations.
Yeah.
And I think so much of what lowercase Christians are good at is spreading their message that kind of neatly packages what their actual agenda is in a way that sounds like it's Christian principles and beliefs.
Yeah.
And I think unfortunately a lot of Christians don't have the language, myself included,
Yeah.
often to say that's not true. That's not what God would want, and this is why, because
Right.
this, and this.
Exactly.
Because, Pat spoke about it today. That word is a weapon. Like that is what you are supposed to be able to go out, fight battles with. But I think so many of us kind of know what it is, but we're not good at actually going out there and saying, actually, that ain't what Christianity is at all, and this is why.
But like, sorry.
No, like this.
But like also like to kind of just piggyback off of that, I feel like a great example of that in the Bible is when the devil was trying to tempt Jesus. Because if you look at it, like he used words that were like so close to scripture that if, like you said, if Jesus wasn't the word for himself, he easily could have been like, you know what? I am the Son of God. I will save myself if I fall off this cliff, or I will turn this rock into bread, or whatever the case may be. But he understood the word in its entirety, and that like he had to die. He had to go through the sacrifice to, fast in the wilderness and things like that. Like those are things he had to do to fulfill prophecy. But if you just tunnel vision and zoom into that one piece of scripture and he didn't know it for himself, like he could have easily fallen prey to that. And so it's like, how do you put the burden of an entire movement onto one biblically literate person like that? You can't do that. So
what was the scene, the Nat Turner scene, where the pastor would say a passage and he would respond with another passage, pretty much kind of shooting it, and it was just so powerful for me to say like, oh, well, actually, everything that they're doing under the guise of Christianity, like it can easily be negated.
Yeah.
But if you're not prepared, then
you'll fall for it. Yeah.
They're gonna leave that debate or that exchange looking like the winner, looking like they actually understand it more than you do, and that's such a dangerous place, because then they're able to leverage that to drive legislation or to drive laws to be enacted that are actually so
divisive, destructive,
but also so anti who Jesus was.
Right.
And it's like you're using Jesus to do that, and so I think
insane.
that's so important you brought that up.
Yeah.
You know, beyond some of the more kind of community focus, just like inside,
Mm.
we need to be able to like sharpen our swords a little bit.
Yeah, try the word by the word. Iron sharpens iron.
Mhm.
But like also, because think about it this way, like, because I'm a very like put it into practice, give me an example person. Like if John 3:16 said, "For God so loved the world that He gave His Son," and it didn't say His only Son. Like you say that, but that word "only" makes the meaning of Him giving Jesus as a sacrifice so much more special because that's
Yeah.
all He had. It was the thing He prized the most. But if you take "only" out, it's like, okay, God gave His Son, but we're all His sons and daughters. You see what I'm saying? And so then you have, but it was such a simple word to change. And if you didn't know the word for yourself, it mimics, you know, it gives kind of the same punch. It's like, okay, He gave up something that meant something to Him because, of course, you love your Son. But it does twist and change the meaning and the entirety of God's sacrifice for His love for us. You know what I'm saying? It like waters down the love. So,
That's good.
yeah, that was the Lord. He gave you that.
The question I know we're getting towards the end. The question that begs is that are we truly devout followers of Christ, or are we culturally or trendy followers of Christ? And that's a tough question to ask, because depending on your walk, you may be in that space. And the reason why I ask that question is because a lot of us can quote a lot of the euphemisms and the phrases that, you know, especially in the black context, about like, you know, like God is good.
God is great.
You know,
Oh,
you know, that's authentic.
Oh,
We like
wait.
that.
We were like, oh,
I was
I say
thinking.
it all the time.
I said all the
I was
time.
thinking.
Let the record show. I
Yeah.
said
all the time. Do not
My-
Candace
I don't know.
always-
Let me explain. My
don't
hungry.
think Candace owns
No. Everybody, listen. My hungry self was thinking about the prayer before you say your food.
Yeah. Next time. You'll get it.
That is the thing.
Yeah,
God is
and-
good.
and-
God is great.
But-
Y'all
but-
know
but
it.
You know
yes.
what though? It could be worse, and we've seen that.
Right.
So it's okay.
Hey.
But
That wasn't bad.
that's
Okay,
hilarious.
my bad.
But to that point, knowing the word is essential, as like we know when we follow people's information on, you know, social media, or we keep up with some latest show that we watch. Like we have to have that type of, you know, dynamic with it. You know,
Right.
we have to have some type of Bible study, whether that be personally or in collective, to be able to recognize not only what the word is for ourselves, but when we are faced with the world in front of us, and being able to speak towards those situations. Because to your point, you know, Pastor did today talk about, you know, the word is a weapon, and it can be used, as you referenced with Nat Turner, it can be used as a tool of disruption, or a tool of deliverance. And so that was even what the book of Eli was referencing as well. So we have to be mindful of that. And I would charge our listeners and viewers of this episode and the oncoming ones to be mindful of that. Where do you fall on the line? Are you trendy in Christ? Are you actually in a building and working relationship in Christ? And to know that difference.
What Bible is influencing you?
That's it. I don't know about you guys, but I needed this. So I'm glad we were able to spend some time digging into it. I hope to see the black church, and really all churches, like, do more to address what's happening, because I think if we don't, it'll only get a lot worse. But I appreciate you all. I appreciate all of you listeners and viewers for joining us, and would love to hear from y'all. If you have any input, any things that we didn't talk about that the church should be doing, I want to hear it. I'm sure our pastor and lots of other pastors can use some help ideating, brainstorming on this stuff, because it's hard.
Yeah.
And it's different. It's a very different time than the 60s. So, you know, we do need to be innovative. But yeah, I'm glad we got that out the way.
Nice. So, on that note, thank you again for listening to. No, I'm kidding. But for real, y'all, thanks for listening to Save Dish Pod. So you can follow us on all platforms: Instagram, Twitter, TikTok.
I don't know.
Question mark.
I feel like we're TikToking.
Yeah, we'll be on
so,
TikTok.
Coming
yeah,
soon,
by the
coming
time
soon.
y'all see this, we'll have a TikTok. So
Yeah.
y'all go repost, send to your friends, etc., etc. But that's Saved-ish Pod. Saved-ish Pod. Y'all check us out. Keep staying with us, and thanks for listening.
See.
We need one.